Today I'm actually speaking on this topic from fear to the fearlessness. So, Prabhu, I will share the screen. Actually, I'm referring to the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse 22. Okay, so hope everybody can see the screen properly. Arjuna Uvacha Krishna Krishna Mahabhavo Bhaktanam Abhiyankara Tvam Eko Dhayamananam Apvargosi Samsrite. Arjuna Uvacha Krishna Krishna Mahabhavo Bhaktanam Abhiyankara Tvam Eko Dhayamananam Apvargosi Samsrite. Forward towards synonyms, translation and purport, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. So, Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, Krishna, O Lord Krishna, Krishna, O Lord Krishna, Mahabaho, he who is the Almighty, Bhakta Nam, of the devotees, Abhyankara, eradicating the fears of, Tvam, you, Ekaha, alone, Dhayamananam, those who are suffering from, Apvargaha, the path of liberation, Asi, are, Samshriteha, in the midst of material miseries. So, translation. Arjuna said, O my Lord Shri Krishna, you are the Almighty Personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find the path of liberation in you only. Purport. Arjuna was aware of the transcendental qualities of Lord Shri Krishna as he had already experienced them during the Kurukshetra war, in which both of them were present. Therefore, Arjuna's version of Lord Krishna is authoritative. Krishna is almighty and is especially the cause of fearlessness for the devotees. A devotee of the Lord is always fearless because of the protection given by the Lord. Material existence is something like a blazing fire in the forest, which can be extinguished by the mercy of Lord Shri Krishna. The spiritual master is the mercy representative of the Lord. Therefore, a person burning in the flames of material existence may receive the rains of mercy of the Lord through the transparent medium of the self-realized spiritual master. The spiritual master, by his words, can penetrate into the heart of the suffering person and inject knowledge transcendental, which alone can extinguish the fire of material existence. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, here, Arjuna is actually saying, Lord Shri Krishna, he's the Almighty Lord, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no limit to his different energies, as we all know. And here is saying that he is the only one who is competent to instill a fearlessness in the heart of the devotees. So, the living entities who are actually burning in this plains of material miseries, so we are all suffering, they can find a path of liberation in you only, that is Lord Krishna. So, I was meditating on this point of fearlessness because here it says that Krishna is actually giving the fearlessness to his devotees, especially pure devotees. And I was actually meditating and I said, we are actually trying to follow this path of Bhakti Yoga. We are trying to chant, we are trying to do the devotional services here and there, but still we are fearful. So, and Srila Prabhupada says that actually one need to be fearless, if you want to progress on this path of Bhakti Yoga. Is very important quality of a devotee. So, how to become fearless, So, in this material world that we live in, as Srila Prabhupada says that everyone wants to be akuto bhayam. But Bhayam, in this material world, everywhere that we see, all the living entities, they are fearful, the conditioned ones. Padam padam yad vipida. At every step, there is a danger. And that's why everyone is feeling fearful. Because we are always trying to identify with our body. And this fear and anxiety can lead to loss of peace, and ultimately the happiness that we always hanker after. So that's why, even knowingly or unknowingly, we all want to be fearless, because we all want peace of mind and happiness. But actually, fear is everywhere. We're attached to so many material things, and ultimately, at the end, death is there, which is the most fearful for all the conditioned living entities, and that we cannot escape. Even in today's world, as we see, actually, especially last couple of years, we have seen many things like COVID-19. There is Ukraine war, there is a cost of living crisis, there's inflation, and there is impending recession. So there are so many uncertainties, we see, and we always feel fearful what is going to happen next. And this restlessness, this uncertainty, and this fearfulness, everyone is worried. I'm not an exception to this. So this is very important to understand, especially, actually, we're all actually trying to become a devotee. And this is a very important quality of a devotee. As Srila Prabhupada says, that devotee need to become a fearless, if you want to progress on this path of bhakti yoga. So how that can be achieved, So we want to actually find out, what is the cause of fearfulness, and how we behave under this condition, and what is a remedy or a solution. Srila Prabhupada says that actually, if any living entity actually he takes birth in this material world, so he's always kept under fear, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. Taking birth in this material world is itself a very fearful situation. Then, once we are here, actually, we are always fear that we will get old. And when we get old, there is always, we suffer from different diseases. Everybody's fearful of actually, especially critical, illnesses. And there is a death. So if we're not self-realized, if we haven't purified our existence, we would be always fearful of the death, and we cannot escape. So it's only Lord Krishna who is supremely fearless, and that's why in this verse it says that he's the only one who competent enough to instill fearlessness in the heart of his devotees. Even actually, when we think about fear, even for the non-devotees, it's very damaging. When we think about our physical health, when you are under constant worry, anxiety, uncertainty, fear, it takes toll on your health. Even for a short moment, when you're exposed to fear, your heartbeat increases, there's palpitation, there is increase in blood pressure. So actually, we suffer on account of that. There is a lot of social pressure, the community that we live in. And there are so many expectations. And sometimes, actually, people who are fearful, they are a bit isolated. They do not mix with the other people. Or in order to fit in, sometimes they even lie. So this fear is actually causing us to do a lot of bad things as well. We all go to the job, we run the businesses as well. So there is always a pressure of actually to perform, up to the expectation of your boss. Otherwise, at the end of the year, you will not get an increment, or you will be fired. And also the emotional bit, actually, when you're going through different mental illnesses or under the constant anxiety, fear, that some people even can commit suicide, So it's very damaging. And His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, actually, he referred, actually it came into my reading, where he referred this verse. that actually lists the 9 type of fears, that living entity undergo while he try to enjoy this material creation. Bhoge roga bhayam, kule chuti bhayam, vitte nipralada bhayam, manne dhainya bhayam, bale ripu bhayam, rupi jaraya bhayam, shastre vadi bhayam, gune khala bhayam, kaye kritan tad bhayam, sarvam vastu bhayam vitam bhuvi, nirnam vairagyam eva bhayam. So it is said here that actually there is a fear of a disease in the enjoyment of a sensual pleasure. So actually we all actually trying to enjoy this material creation, as Srila Prabhupada say, we try to lord it over. So as long as our body is in healthy condition, we try to enjoy everything, we try to eat different palatable dishes. We try to enjoy whatever we can actually get hold of. But there is always a fear of disease at the end, and we may not able to enjoy this creation or these material things for so long. Even if you're actually born in a family, there is always a fear of disgrace and dishonor. Even if you're born in a wealthy country or in a wealthy, conditions, there is always a fear of a hostile rulers, or anybody who can actually take over your wealth. In honor and prestige, there is a fear of humiliation. Even you are situated in a very powerful position, there is a fear of an enemy or adversary. Even you are very beautiful, there is always a fear of old age, your beauty will diminish. Even you are very learned, there is a fear of actually learned opponent. And he says, in virtue, there is a fear of wicked, vilifying person. And we got this material body, there's always a fear of death at the end. So actually, we know, we came across all of this, but we never realized, we try to meditate that all this fear, every one of us experience this. So this actually established that actually, we accept that everyone is fearful, who are conditioned. Some people, if you ask them, they said, no, I'm not fearful. I do not fear death, Some people challenge. They do not accept. But even knowingly or unknowingly, this time factor, maybe at a time, they may say they are fearless. But in due course of time, the time will put them in a fearful condition. I read actually this discussion between Srila Prabhupada and his disciple, that he actually shared the realization where he asked his mother, are you fearful? Are you not fearful of your age? And she said, no, I'm not fearful. I'm not actually fearful of death. And he was actually sharing that with the Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, sometimes people deny, even they are fearful, they deny. But, sometimes you can, what you can do, maybe give them a gun and say, here you go, can you shoot yourself? So I was reading this. So if you're really fearless, but actually when we actually face the death, we realize our real situation, that we're all fearful. So how do we actually behave when we are actually so fearful in this material world? That we try to actually find the security, we try to do many things. So we can actually maintain some certainty in our life, we are working very hard, So we go to the job, we try to earn money, we try to buy insurance, we try to buy a car that is safety rating is very high, so that can actually protect us. But Srila Prabhupada says that's all stupid, the rascals, they do not understand. This material world, the padam yad vipida, there is danger at every step. There is no certainty, or there is no any permanent situation here that you can actually just relax. So Srila Prabhupada says that they take shelter of this asad, what is not permanent, So this our material body and all our bodily relations. So as long as we take shelter of a asad, we will be always be fearful. So in this verse, there is actually word that actually mentioned there, apavarg, the path of liberation. So the opposite of apavarg, which is the path of actually progressive sense gratification, what we call a pravritti marg, So Srila Prabhupada, I think in his purport to the verse, Srimad Bhagavatam verse, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 7, Dharmasya pavargasya, where he actually very nicely described this word, apavarg. And apavarg, opposite of apavarg is a power, which is actually, which denote the 5 type of material miseries in this material world. So the power stand for pa, pa, bha, bha, ma. So pa is a parishram. Pa means parishram. We have to do very hard work in this material world in order to actually survive. And when you work very hard, then the foam comes out of your mouth, just like the horses, when they actually work very hard, the foam comes out of their mouths. That is called phenila. And after working very hard and all that, still there is a frustration. The pa, pa, ba, the bartharth. And then there is a bhai, So you work very hard, you try to earn money, you try to actually make your living or try to accumulate wealth. Even after that, there is always a bhai. Fear is there that whatever you earn, that can be lost at any time, You may be very actually powerful person, but that power can be lost. You may be a very beautiful person, but with the time, actually their beauty will also diminish. So bhai is always there. And at the end, pa, pa, ba, ba, ma is a mrityu. Yeah? Death is there. So these are the 5 material miseries, Srila Prabhupada actually described very nicely that this is actually the reality of this material world, There is no actually proper resting place here, There is nothing that is permanent. So we should not take shelter of asad. We should take shelter of what is permanent, sat. So in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, where it is said, Abhyam Sattva Samshuddhi. So Abhyam, fearlessness. Sattva means existence. And Samshuddhi. Unless we purify our existence, there is no question of fearlessness. And the purification can only happen when we engage ourselves in the loving devotional service of Lord Krishna. So as I said, actually, that we are working very hard, even we know all this philosophy, but we're still struggling, Srila Prabhupada, this is a struggle for existence, We work very hard, And devotional service is always a second priority in initial stages. So we work very hard and we get tired, we get fatigued. So actually it came into the reading while actually the Srimad Bhagavatam in practice, where there is a realization shared, where the story of King Puranjan was mentioned, that when he was actually gone out for the hunting, he was actually running around and he was very tired at the end of the day and very exhausted, fatigued. So he finally realized and he returned to his palace. He took a nice bath and then he accepted a ahar, uchit ahar, what is mentioned there. And then he rested. And then he felt very refreshed. So Srila Prabhupada writes there that this is like figuratively, the conditioned souls are actually always engaged in sinful activities, and they also get very exhausted. And when they come to their conscience, then they also have to retire. They have to actually go back home. They take shelter of the spiritual master, who can actually, once they actually get initiated or accept him as guru, then with the instruction received from spiritual master, they can actually purify their existence. And Srila Prabhupada said, once you are initiated, then you can stop all these sinful activities, and then you will feel refreshed. So His Holiness, His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, the Transcendental Melo, where he says that we have to retire every day. So this point I realize, actually we are working, struggling very hard, try to survive, but we have to retire, because unless we purify our existence by spending time with Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and devotional services, we cannot able to purify our existence, and there will not be any actually a relaxing moment, So unless we do that, actually we will not feel energetic. So daily, as Amrish Prabhu has many times he mentioned that we have to retire every day and try to find a time. So that's how we behave, when we are actually in this material world in a fearful situation. So what is the actually cause of this fearful situation? So Srila Prabhupada, that is a statement, he mentioned the living entity's fear of a death is due to, because of his false ego of identifying with the body. Everyone is afraid of death. Actually, there is no death for a spirit soul. When one is fully convinced that he is not his body, there is no question of fearing a death. Since a spirit soul does not die, if the spirit soul engages in its spiritual activities of devotional service, he is completely freed from the platform of birth and death. His next position is complete spiritual freedom from the material body. So, as a living entities, conditioned living entities, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun. So, these are the actually qualification of a conditioned soul, Just like an animal, we also eat, we also sleep, we also mate, and we also defend. There is no difference. So bhai, bhai is always there for a conditioned soul, It is a qualification of a conditioned soul. So Srila Prabhupada says, so long we are not connected with Krishna consciousness or not connected with the Supreme Lord, we shall always be fearful. Fearful is one of the qualification of a conditioned soul. Why we are actually defending? Because on account of fearfulness, the animal, small animal, ant, it has got also fear. The biggest nation, Russia, America, they are also fearful because this is the qualification of a conditioned life. Ahar, eating, nidra, sleeping, fearing and mating. So if you want to get yourself free from fearfulness, then Sukadeva Goswami recommend that you have to chant, you have to hear, and you have to remember about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is a conclusion. So he also mentions from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, that fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as a material body because of absorption in an external illusory energy. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency of illusion called Maya. So the cause of our fearfulness is our absorption in this actually illusory energy, or our identification with our material body. So that is the cause. And we know that actually the Maya, the illusory energy, it is not easy to actually cross over. As we studied in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 14, Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama maya durattaya mam evaye prapadante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So the cause is actually we are so absorbed in this material energy, the illusory energy, and that is the cause of our fearfulness. And Krishna says it's not very easy, it's very difficult to overcome this Maya. But who have surrendered unto me, they can easily cross beyond it. So the key is to the surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada here mentions, actually, that is a statement that now suppose somebody says, oh, I shall kill you, I shall kill you. Somebody become very much afraid, but a person who is situated in pure consciousness is not afraid. We have got a very practical example in the life of great philosopher, Greek philosopher Socrates. He believed in the immortality of the soul. So he was offered a hemlock poison. If you believe in immortality of the soul, then you drink this poison. And he said, yes, I shall drink it. So he drank it. His body, of course, stopped functioning because of the poison. But he was not afraid of drinking the poison because he was completely situated in that platform. So there is no fear. So long bodily conception of life is there, fearfulness will always be there in proportionately. As much I get rid of this bodily conception of life, then my fearfulness will also decrease. So long I am absorbed in bodily conception of life, my fearfulness is greater. So the fearfulness actually, so how we actually get out of this actually, the illusory energy, and how actually we surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, which is the actually ultimate solution. So there's famous prayer that we sing, Srila Prabhupada mentioned this. Bhaj hure mana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. So Abhaya Charan. So the Abhay Charan means actually one who has actually taken the shelter of lotus feet of Lord Krishna. He's Abhay, he's fearless. So this fearlessness is given by Krishna only. And that can only happen by total surrender unto his lotus feet. And that is a devotional service. And when we do the devotional service, this knowledge and this actually detachment, they automatically actually manifest. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jan Yatyashu Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. By rendering devotional service unto Lord Krishna, one immediately acquire causeless knowledge and detachment. So Srila Prabhupada says this knowledge is very important as well. Without knowledge, there is no proper renunciation. We must know who we are. I am a spirit soul. And Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we need to realize what is our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is our constitutional position? And when we realize that we are the eternal servant of Krishna, and when we act accordingly, then this is called a jnana, knowledge. So when we get interested in spiritual or devotional activities, we slowly actually get disinterested in the material things. And this detachment is a vairag. And when there is a knowledge and there is a detachment, that will manifest as a result of a devotional service. And with that detachment and knowledge, the fearlessness will manifest in the heart of a devotee. So the devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, that is the ultimate solution to become a fearless. And when we become a fearless, then we progress very nicely, as Srila Prabhupada says, on this path of Bhakti Yoga. When we realize that we are spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi, then Brahmabhuta stage. Brahmabhuta Prasannatma na sochiti na kangshati. So Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. So Prabhupada said this is some symptom of fearlessness, So we identify, we realize, that we are Brahman. And we become joyful, We do not lament anything. We are equally disposed towards all the living entities. The gold and stone are equal. So this is a symptom of fearlessness. So this devotional service is a key, and as it is said, actually, Srila Prabhupada mentioned in a purport that Lord Krishna, he is supremely fearless. So his competent authority who can instill the fearlessness in the heart of his pure devotees through the mercy of spiritual master. So we are all burning in this material fire, So the rain of mercy from a spiritual master, the knowledge that we receive can actually help us to find a path of liberation. So that is actually means bottom line, actually, what we discussed, that we all want to be actually fearless, we all want to actually achieve the peace and happiness, which is a result of actually fearlessness. And we all want to actually progress in a devotional service. So the solution is there, Actually, we have to actually surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Abhay Charan. So that is actually what I realized, actually while studying this verse. And we discuss, actually different type of fear that we actually experience in this material life, and how we behave. We try to actually find a security in this temporary world, As Srila Prabhupada says that everything is asad. There is no security. Padam padam yad vipida. So knowing all this, so we all know the solution as well now. So what I realize actually, as it is, we are going to be actually, anxious. There will be uncertainties because we're still actually trying to learn this art of devotional service, And Srila Prabhupada says that, means we actually in the previous, actually few months back, when we studied this actually material anxiety and spiritual anxiety, So anyway, we are going to actually get anxious, and the uncertainty is going to come. But we have to actually carry on, with our actually devotional services. Amrish Prabhu also shared this new quote, I think it's a beginners forum, where he mentioned, actually Srila Prabhupada mentioned this world is actually full of calamities, and we try to actually adjust the calamities. But Srila Prabhupada says that calamity is going to come, as per our karma. But we have to carry on our devotional service, That is the only way. So even if we actually get anxious, better to be actually engaged in devotional service, Better to be anxious for Krishna rather than for the material things. At least it will not give us actually bad health. So yeah, this is my realization actually, that we are all looking for, actually, we all want to be fearless, Nobody like to be fearful. And actually, it's very amazing that most of the actually pressing issues that we face in our life, anxiousness, fearfulness, no peace. And the ultimate solution is actually devotional service unto Lord Krishna, Is one solution actually take care of all our actually problems. So yes, so Srila Prabhupada has given very wonderful purport, and I shared many of his statements, that he shared, that ultimately abhiyam sattva samshuddhi, we have to actually purify our existence. That is the only way that we can become fearless, and ultimately we achieve our goal of a complete surrender at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Anybody, if they have any questions, they can ask now.
Very nice, Shital Prabhu. Thank you very much for your nice class. It was very nice, very nice. I remember Maharaj this verse, it's not easily available in this particular verse. And it is a Mayavad verse, so we have to be a little careful. But it's very nectar. Maharaj's class, when Maharaj gave that class, I was there. And I wanted it. It was one of those classes where I felt that let me assimilate it in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I will reproduce it. So you jog my memory, So I think if you don't mind, one of the classes, I'll speak on this verse, with Maharaj. Whatever I could remember a little bit, what Maharaj said,
Yes.
Yeah, it's very nice. Now, my request to you is that it's such a nice lecture, class you gave. Would you like to read Prabhupada's purport also? It's very nice. It's very nice with Prabhupada's purport,
Yes. You want me to read again?
You finished reading. Everybody else would have heard it as well.
I can read it again.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's okay. No need to repeat again. That's all right. Okay, if anyone has any questions or realizations to share, please feel free. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And before that, as you mentioned, Prabhuji, this Maharaj's verse, and Maharaj actually he clarifies that the end at the verse, given the detachment, but Maharaj says that is not ultimate solution. It has to lead to the devotional service of the Lord. That is a complete solution, because artificial detachment is not ultimate solution for fearlessness. Sorry. So actually, yeah, I found it very instructive, and yeah, it makes sense.
It's absolutely correct. That's what Maharaj said. Hare Krishna. Okay, anyone wants to say anything? Any questions or realizations? Please free.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Shital Prabhu, for your very nice class. It's very, very good topic. Actually, we all have fear. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that, yeah, because ultimately we have the fear of death, that is that's the root fear of everything. Like either we fear for our livelihood, or we fear for our health, or anything. So the root is the death, and as you nicely mentioned that, so devotion service is the remedy. Now you given the example, I think Srila Prabhupada has given the example of Socrates. I think he was realized that he's not body, he's a spirit soul. That made him fearless, right? But is that sufficient, Prabhuji, just to know that you are body, you are not this body, you are a spirit soul? Because you have to go further, right? Like some people say we have out of body experience or something like that. So is that their fear is gone of the death, or?
Srila Prabhupada, yes, it's a very good question, Prabhuji. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada says that he had actually firm faith that he's a soul, not his body, So that is actually, even in Krishna consciousness, that is the actually main principle. We always say, Aham Brahmasmi, I'm the spirit soul, not this body. So the root cause is that, Prabhuji, because if you think you are a body, so that's where Srila Prabhupada always presses, on that point, that as long as we actually identifying or taking shelter of that is asad or body relationship, we're always going to end up in a fearful situation. So when you realize that actually you are a spirit soul, that's what is called the actually purification of my existence. Abhiyam Sattva Samshuddhi. Srila Prabhupada mentioned this point. That purification means when we realize we are this spirit soul, not this body, then there is no question of anything that relates to this body. We are being attached to that. So you are becoming detached. That's how. So when you are actually taking shelter of you are identifying your real position as a servitor of the Lord, and you are engaged in the service of the Lord, then you are ultimately fearless. So that's why Srila Prabhupada, I think he gave the example of Socrates. I do not know much, on the background of Socrates, but he mentioned this point that he was firmly convinced, and that's why he being challenged that, okay, you really believe that you are the spirit soul, you're not this body, then you drink this poison. So he drank it. So, he has a firmly, but Srila Prabhupada said poison is acted, because he's going to act on the body. But he was not afraid to drink it. So he was fearless, So that was actually point. Even actually, I think I was reading that this actually love towards the Lord of Krishna, actually love means a loving devotional service, and it gives a fearlessness, Even in this material world, to some extent, you have seen many examples that when people love something, like a soldiers, they love their country, and they're not afraid to die for the country, they lay their bodies happily. So even it's not perfect, but still this actually love, or actually the attachment to the, here what we're discussing here, to the Supreme. We're acting according to our actually what you call constitutional position, that we are the servant, and that's why we lovingly want to serve Krishna. So basically we're identifying that we are the spirit soul, not this body, so we're serving Supreme, not our body. So that's what actually means. I'm not sure that I answered your question, Prabhuji, but
yes, so it's basically two things. Like one is love, or you so much love something, your nation or your society, or like devotees, we love Krishna, so that makes fearlessness.
But that's you see that actually, these things in material world, but ultimately this whole material world is temporary,
Yes.
So everything is asad. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. And as long as we take shelter of these things, we always end up in fearful situations.
Yes. Yeah, as long as we have attached with the body, is always fear there. Something going to happen. Yeah.
Maybe I can request Amrish Prabhu to clarify this point. I mean, it's a bit tricky to explain, but.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Would you like to repeat the question again, please? Sorry, I went to drink water, before my program.
Yes, no problem. My question was, like the example was given of Socrates, that when you have an auto, like
so is being just to know that you are not this body is enough to become fearless.
Yes. Or and then the second point, Shital Prabhu mentioned that love, like if you have so intense love, either for your nation or your society, that also makes you fearless. Like in some extent, like they're ready to lie their body like soldiers. They don't afraid of death, and they just fight, on the borders.
But
So,
that's that means it was actually, I was reading through it mentioned, but ultimately, it's all material, it's all temporary. And Srila Prabhupada says that these are all asad, So you love your country as long as you're under the illusion that,
the love element is there.
Yeah. When that illusion is removed, your love is gone, Prabhuji. So, actually the love toward us, the right object, that is Krishna, the love and actually the surrender is the ultimate, ultimately you will give you the fearlessness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Amrish. Yeah, these 2 points were okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you see, vairagya, detachment, is a very powerful thing. Although we say that yes, actual devotional service is performed, bhakti is performed, the actual state of liberation. So, as a liberated stage means what? We are not victimized. We are victimized because we think we are this body. So, as a liberation stage, meaning we realize we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Okay? It's a very powerful stage. It makes you fearless too. There is no doubt about it. It will be wrong to say that those who are liberated personalities, maybe impersonalists, they are fearful. Yes, they are fearful to some extent, that they want to reach, as Srila Prabhupada explains, Brahma Jyoti. Because the endeavor is on their own. Whereas for devotional service, if you compare, the endeavor is to love. So perfection of devotional service is to still love Krishna. So we have discussed how material attachments, it may seem that it is fearless, but it's not really fearless. That person may be, that soldier may be fearless for himself, but fearful for his family.
Yes.
Then what is this fearlessness? Is it right? Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So this is bogus. This, as you say, it material is fearlessness. Yeah. But again, now we talk about impersonalism. With those who have achieved vairagya. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma Nasojati Nakamshya. So Brahma Bhuta stage is Prasannatma stage, where one is very, very satisfied and happy. So at that stage, he's not, for him, happiness and distress, everything is the same. Okay. So technically speaking, from a layman's point of view, fearlessness exists at the Brahma Bhuta stage. When one is completely convinced he's not this body, he's a spirit soul. Yeah?
Yes.
But engagement is not there. For engagement to be there, they do not know how to engage and what to do after coming to this stage of fearlessness, of stage of Brahma Bhuta stage. That is the reason why they end up doing philanthropic activities, like opening hospitals, doing charity, etc., etc. You see? So even after coming to the stage of fearlessness, they are still fearful because of lack of engagement. So the fearlessness is not complete. Socrates is an example where same disciples of Srila Prabhupada said that Prabhupada said to them that Socrates said when he was being caught by the Romans and said, we are going to imprison you and kill you. He's saying, first of all, you catch me, then you can kill me. Prabhupada said that in the conversation.
Yes.
So Prabhupada said there is a good point, that he is fearless to an extent. You cannot catch the spirit soul, you catch the body. There is a conversation where you are referring to.
Yes.
Yeah. So to that extent, there is fearlessness. But engagement is very important. See, you may have knowledge, but if you don't have engagement like preaching or in a home doing bhakti, chanting or reading, cooking, worshipping, spending time, controlling the senses, that itself is 24-hour service. But if you're only controlling the senses, there is no question of cooking for Krishna, for God, or loving Him. Then you are going to fall down again, because you're going to go back to the philanthropic activities. You come to the material activities. That is the faultiness of vairagya. So it needs a little explanation, as I explained to you. So yes, it is, but it is not permanent happiness. Whereas a devotee, as Shital mentioned very nicely, I like that point very well. It's that devotional service is the final goal of devotional service. Loving God, going back to Godhead. Yes, it's true. That is the final goal of devotional service. But actually, devotional service leads to devotional service. From Mishra Bhakti, we come to the Raganuga Bhakti.
Yes.
This has to be performed. So, and once doing that, one is not fearful. Wherever you keep me, Krishna, make sure I'm chanting your name. That's it, full stop. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, you say that if you go back to Godhead, and then you'll be happy. But what if there is no Godhead? What if you die and there is nothing there, Srila Prabhupada said, so what is it? So he accepted that if you die and there's nothing in it, because you are still a spirit soul. He accepted that point at least, that person, still you go somewhere. He said, so what? Like me, there are other devotees who also die and go nowhere. We all will come together and we chant Hare Krishna. So that person who asked the question asked a faulty question by accepting that there is a spirit soul being individual, So Prabhupada said, if that is true, then all these devotees, we all will chant Hare Krishna wherever we are. No problem. Engagement, you see?
Yes. Yes,
so that's the reason why these are the verses that we are a little careful with in broader ISKCON discussions, Because we have followed Maharaj, glorious, Maharaj gave this, but try not to give this in a ISKCON situation, Just stick to Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and say, what are you doing? Where is this verse coming from? This is from Vairagya, the Vairagya Suti it's called, Vairagya Shatakam, what is this going on, Yeah. But is that okay? Is this answered?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I have to give a small class, There was no one-word answer,
So, Prabhuji, it's very, very nicely explained. Yeah, because even I don't feel like out of body experience or anything, but as soon as we are doing devotion service, we're feeling very peaceful, satisfaction, and so that's the proof of it.
Yeah, that's right. If you're 1,000 rupees, you do 1,000 rupees worship of Krishna. If you are 1 rupee, you do 1 rupee worship of Krishna. If you have no rupee, still you can worship Krishna. Full stop. You don't have to go and beg to say, give me some food so I can give it to Krishna. Yeah, Jai. Thank you very much. Please. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else would like to ask question to Srila Prabhu? Please feel free. We still have got a few minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I want to ask one question. Like, as a beginner, when you start doing the devotional activities, still you get fear of so many things, and then again you stop at some point, and then you again start believing, and again sometimes there is a fear if we'll not do other things, and if we start doing the devotional activities, it may hinder some or the other things. So how to start making devotional services and becoming fearless at other things in the material world?
Sorry. So your question is, you are saying that in initial stages when we perform devotional service, we're still fearful, right? And sometimes we stop and we start. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, actually, as Srila Prabhupada very rightly pointed out, actually, this fearlessness will only come, when we actually not actually identifying this with body, but initial stages, actually, we are still attached to all these material things, and because there is no detachment to these material things, that will actually give rise to the fear. But actually, by devotional service, as I said, is the ultimate solution to actually reach that goal of fearlessness. So if you keep actually doing, your chanting or whatever devotional service you can do for Krishna, then it slowly, it will purify your existence, And Srila Prabhupada says, when your existence, is purified, then actually this fearlessness will automatically manifest. So even you are attached to these material things, even in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that actually whatever you have, you try to use it in a service of Krishna. Even you are attached to these material things, somehow find a way to use it in a service of Krishna. That's what we call Yukta Vairagya, So even if you actually buy something, buy it for Krishna, cook something for Krishna, anything you do, actually you do with an intention or keeping Krishna in the center. So that way, actually you are engaged, and with the mercy of Krishna, as he says that actually once you actually start rendering loving devotional service, so automatically the detachment and knowledge will slowly will manifest, with the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of your spiritual master. So as Amrish Prabhu said that actually the process and the end is the same. So as long as we start chanting, we're not going to actually, achieve that goal straight away. But we have to go step by step. As we progress, I think we will become slowly. Srila Prabhupada says proportionately, depending on how much detached you are and how much attached to the Krishna, proportionately you will become a fearless. Amrish Prabhu, you want to add anything to this one? Take it.
Very nice, very nice. Please continue. You don't have to. You're speaking nicely. Please continue. You're qualified now, all of you. All of you, your tutors are qualified.
So, is that answered your question, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Sorry. I also had a question. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much, Srila Prabhu, for your very nice class. It was very nice. I particularly liked that reference to that verse of Srila Gurudev, in which yours, all those fears that we don't even think about, but they're actually there, they're present. I had a question, Prabhu. So in spiritual life, we may also have fears. For example, you have fear of losing your spiritual progress. You may have fear of falling down. You may have fear that you're not doing your sadhana properly. You may fear wrong association, etc., etc. So in that context, in that scenario, is that fearfulness correct, or is it justified, or is it an incorrect way to think? Hare Krishna.
That's a very nice question, Prabhuji. So that's so yes, we also means I myself also fear that I may again go into the wrong association, may fall down in a devotional service. So this is rightly actually so good fear to have, but actually this is all arising from our material attachment, because probably why we fear that actually we may actually fall down again, while try to actually doing the devotional service, because we know that we are very much attached to the matter or material things. So even actually we fear that actually my attachment to this material thing can become stronger than my desire to progress on this devotional service. So that is a real fear. That actually means if you think deeply, actually where it is originating from. But I think, yes, Prabhuji, I think that's what I think, it's all arising from the material platform somehow, that actually, the fear of actually being, fall down in the devotional service, or maybe get into the wrong association. So this is the way that we are thinking in that way, because we are very strongly attached to these things in a material way, So that's what probably, that is my understanding, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Amrish Prabhu, maybe you can able to clarify that point, because it's a bit hard for me to actually organize my thought in a short span of time. Sorry.
Yeah. No, thank you. This is a bit technical as well. And this actually, in short, in one sentence, answer to Krishnadasa's question. It's a very good question. There is this fear we all should have. It's a good fear to have. So in that extent, it is for preserving our devotional service and continuing with it. So it is the best fear to have. It is the best fear to have. It will keep us in check. If you're trying to control your senses, your subtle senses, we think only about gross senses, The subtle senses is more important than gross senses. So, in one sentence, it is a very good fear to have. So please don't be hard on ourselves on keeping it material or spiritual. It is best. You save yourself and save me also, That's how we camaraderie should be there in devotion. That's why we have this association to help each other, Is it okay? Shital Prabhu, is it all right?
Yes. Yes, very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you. Krishna Raj, is it okay?
Yes, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. My mom also has something small to add as well.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shital Prabhuji. It was a very nice class. A lot of nice references from Srila Prabhupada's classes. And I think this class should not be for 1 hour. It should probably be a couple of sessions. It's such an interesting topic. And there's so many things that are coming to my mind, but I'll ask just one point. I thought, while Prabhuji was explaining about devotional service, and I was just thinking that, in our lives, like we see devotees of Krishna, they are fearless. And the first thought that came to my mind is why? Because they are completely dependent on Krishna and they have surrendered themselves to Krishna. So the Gopas, the Gopis, so many calamities happened. Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill for them. Even our dear Srila Prabhupada, when he was going in the ship, underwent heart attacks, after heart attacks. And at that age, probably, if a person like me, I would have just run away and given up, No, I have to take care of my health. How can I do this? But Srila Prabhupada was completely dependent on Krishna. And what a miracle happened after that. So I just thought I'll raise that point that, yes, devotional service. And then I think, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the dependency on Krishna, if that happens, then it just brings you fearless because, no matter what, Krishna is going to take care of you. I say even a leaf doesn't move without his will. So if we have that faith that no matter what, Krishna, I'm surrendered to you and you will take care of me, then there's no fear. And then there's no thought also that, what if I go, where will I go back to Godhead or not? Wherever you go, maybe Krishna wants you to go to the very hellish planets. That's also okay. Maybe there's some preaching required and maybe you will have some service there to do, So that's how I feel like your thought completely changes. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Yeah, that's very good realization. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned this point, actually. It came while I was reading, and he said that actually the small child, when he's under the shelter of their parents, he's fearless, he's completely dependent. But when actually their parents are not there, he's left alone, then he's crying, he's crying for his mother. Where is my mother? Where is my father? So that exactly the situation of all the living entities in this material world. So I think, we should actually cry for Krishna. We become totally dependent. So that will actually make us fearless. Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for sharing the realization.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. We had a very good discussion today, and Shital Prabhu for nice realizations, and for devotees as well. I'm sure many of you would like to think about it, contemplate about fearlessness. And what I'm planning to do is that we will have some guest speakers coming, I've planned for them to come. So we'll ask them this point. I'm going to say this topic, that please speak on learning fearlessness from the Bhagavad Gita. You think it's a good idea? Will it help us? What do you think, all of you? Yeah? Learning fearlessness from Bhagavad Gita. So different speakers can speak on the same subject there. And we can on the Bhagavad Gita as well, on the Bhagavad Gita only. So we all will have different angles from how we can become fearless from studying Bhagavad Gita. Was it a good idea?
Yes.
Just raise your hands,
Yes,
please.
yes,
See
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
if you want it, Sorry, all of you, my screen is frozen. Excuse me. Sorry, my screen is frozen. Okay, right, now I can see. I can see only Sanjeev Prabhu's hand raising.
Yes.
Okay. So all wanted this is a good idea? It's broken, I think. Right? It's a good idea, all of you? Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right. So give me some time. I'm scheduling the speakers, guest speakers. So we'll have them shortly coming through, Right. So with this wonderful class, we will take about those who are joining us from on YouTube. Please don't go away. We are going to disconnect now, and we're going to start Lord Nityananda's Appearance Day class in about 20 seconds, 30 seconds from now. So please don't go away.